find yourself at the booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike. Today, sitting with my co-hosts Joe and the OC and Casey. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
So much better.
Bueno.
So much better.
Muy bueno.
Who's leading us off? New watches. Let's get right into it.
Well,
Casey.
all right, yeah. So I sold the stainless steel Rolex 1500 I bought. And I do this thing where if I get a watch in, and if I'm not 100% like feeling it, actually, I take it back. Almost all of them are on eBay for more than what I bought them for. And if you want it and you agree to the more than not outrageous price I have them listed at, I will gladly surrender that watch to you. And this person was generous enough to pay me $500 more than what I paid for it. So I've got. Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say the 2 points. Number one is I forgot what my first point was now.
Nice.
My first point is you're the perfect subject matter for today's topic. But
Exactly.
Number two, your 7-watch collection, does that mean it's an open door collection then?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, pretty much. The main intent that I have is there's 2 slots that will almost always be more liquid than others.
Okay.
Interesting. That's such an interesting design aspect to your collection and the way that you're collecting. We may need to delve deeper into this. Like, who hurt you as a child? We really need to know.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I nope, no way.
Yeah, I have relationship issues.
Well, see, but you have different relationship issues than I do because, I'm in the middle of doing a 31-day 666 review, which isn't going to touch all of them. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. But anyway, so I've got a watch coming in. It'll be here Monday, so I won't put it out just yet. But I actually ended up picking up a pretty old piece here. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. Well, anywho, I don't know if it's gonna freaking focus.
That's why we have pictures.
Well, yeah, we'll throw it up.
So anyway, I picked up a World War II era German issue field watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's the size for that? Because I wouldn't have put it in World War II at all. Is it a Flieger?
Nope, it's a German Army field watch.
Okay.
So this thing is 33 millimeters.
No kidding.
Really? It looks bigger than that.
Yeah, well, it comes across way bigger than that. That's interesting, man.
Yeah, it wears pretty nice. I saw
who's
it.
The manufacturer?
Like, what's that?
Who's the manufacturer?
Yes.
Excellent.
Ravu Sport.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of looking into these, and like almost any other government contract watch, it was made by like all sorts of different people to a certain standard. Pretty sure the crystal isn't right because it rotates 360, so that doesn't seem right.
So don't do one of those videos where you're washing it in the sink then.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're right. Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I picked up, and waiting for the new arrival to show up.
That's
the new mystery watch.
Like I just saw, I was at a watch event for Watch Time that happened in Costa Mesa recently, and one of the guys from OC Chrono has been doing some service on a Seiko Kamikaze watch.
Oh,
that's right. You told me about it. You showed me pictures of that.
I showed you, and it's, man, like it's huge. It's essentially a pocket watch movement. And so that's why I was really curious about the size of what you picked up there, KC, because sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big. Like we were talking off camera about the Bulova A15, which the reissue is at about 40, but the original was 32, 33. The watches of the time were tiny unless it was a Flieger, and then sometimes they were just ginormous. So
I still can't imagine what that's got to be like to try and read with 2 rotating bezels and then a dial.
Well, but considering that it's a Flieger, you do have perfect vision, so it won't be that hard. Well, Mike, do you have anything, sir?
I don't have anything physically in hand. However, Joe, you know what I'm talking about. KC, pick up your phone. I'm going to send it through the chat right now so you can see what I'm referring to here. And we'll have to put a picture up. I purchased the best worst watch possible.
My God. Oh, I can't. I really can't believe that you did that. I really can't. I'm just.
Wow.
So it is, let's see, an Accutron Electra Datomatic Bulova
With a
with a tuning fork.
with a weird tuning fork and a mechanical wind-up movement.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a 1 joule wind-up at that.
What the freak?
And
Is
so
this
it's
a vintage
oh, it has to be.
knockoff?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. And it's hilarious. And this watch came up in discussion in a chat, Joe, that you and I have with Oliver. I think Oliver is the one that brought it up.
Maybe. I don't even remember.
I said, wow, that's so horrible, but it's fantastic.
No.
Well, can I ask how much something like that goes for?
So
Yes, it's one of one.
It's 1 of 1. So it was an auction listing. The starting bid was $19.99, $19.95, whatever it was, just under $20, or best offer. So there was still, I think, like 5 days left. I offered the guy $25. He's like, no, I can't do 25. Can you do 30? I'm like, no, I'm not paying $35 for that, or $30 for it plus shipping and all that.
Yeah. No.
So I knew nobody was going to bid on it. I'm like, you should have just taken my offer, because now I bought it for less. So I bought it for $19.95. But it is so worth it to have such a horrible looking Accutron Electra Datomatic Bulova with a very awkward floating tuning fork.
Oh my God. Yeah, you have to put that on like a expansion bracelet.
No.
Preferably like a
What
silver
really
one.
needs to be, what needs to happen is you need to get that to the Bolivia Museum, because that's an important piece of history.
It is an important
Right?
piece of Bulba history. Yes, 100%.
Listen, this thing is so bad, I'd almost consider putting it on a boon.
Before you pick it up, just listen to it, and if you hear "kill me," just oblige it.
Oh man, I'm gonna
That's
put it in
awesome.
a nice, like a 1 watch glass case right in my living room somewhere.
Oh, easily.
You know what you should do? You should get one of those websites that turn your pictures into a poster or some crap, or like turn it into art.
Yeah. Hey, I could put it right here.
That'd be perfect.
Right here behind me.
That'd be gorgeous.
Yeah, what if you made it into a wall clock? Ooh.
Blown up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my new watch that's not here yet.
It's definitely an alert.
Oh man, I cannot wait to see it in person. It's going to be fantastic. Joe, what do you got?
Okay.
I mean, how do you follow that up?
Well, you know what? How do I follow that up? I follow that up with a bunch of junk. I have a Accutron 218 2242 grab bag. So here's an Accutron 218 with 3 additional date wheels and no case back.
Ooh.
Here is a collection of 218D kind of body parts, but no tuning forks.
Okay.
Here is a what is this? A 224? No, it's another 218. Another 218 with all sorts of crap stuck to it. Here's a 2242 and another 2242. Right, main plates. And
so
then,
where and why did you buy all this junk?
Yeah.
Oh well, wait, hang on. Wait till you see the all the extra parts too. Where and what? Well, on eBay, of course. Then
Okay.
I got 3 just nasty dials, because I got some bad coils on those. I showed them a couple episodes ago, the deep sea, and then that 666 snorkel. So those went up for repair. The coils on those are shot, so I need to get some extra coils, and hopefully I got one. So
Okay.
Parts, pieces, parts. So I got that.
I didn't know you bought that stuff. You didn't run that purchase through me.
Well, I don't need to, Dad.
You didn't get authorization.
I don't need to, Dad. Then also I found, this is really, really cool. This is really kind of killer. This is a new old stock M dial.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's gonna turn out great. The problem is gonna be the bezel, because my bezel is really ghosted on that M. But
I bet you it'll still look good with that
it's
bezel,
gonna pop. Yeah, it's really gonna pop, because it's one of those weird things, because the dial I've got is oxidized so neatly. But that's just gonna change it up. And then friend of the show, right? Mike was talking a couple episodes ago that our friend Luis sent him Caravelle and a couple Caravelles, and then a ladies Caravelle, right? Must be something like that.
Yeah, there you go. The mute button was not working.
So Luis sent me this ladies snorkel 666.
And that's cool.
It is. It's really cool. But it's one thing that's kind of strange. So it's the
Pepsi
integrated.
bezel?
What's that?
Pepsi?
Coke, sir. Coke.
Oh.
Pepsi.
Well, your camera game is junk, so I couldn't tell the colors.
Blame Apple.
Yeah.
But the issue. So lots of the lady pieces from Bulova, the bracelets are always huge. This one looks like it's been completely sized, and like I can't even get it on if I wanted to. It won't even go over my thumb. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. But it's signed clasp 666 on the back, because there's not enough room on the dial since it's a ladies piece. And then Luis also sent me.
Wait, hold on. That doesn't say 666 on the dial?
No, it says so on the case back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we've had this argument before, and namely with my oceanographer G.
Yes.
The Angel diver, because it doesn't say 666 on the dial. Is it really a 666?
Say 666 on the case back?
Yeah.
And it's a 666. You're welcome. So
okay, it is today, because before it wasn't. Carry on.
Also, I've been talking about trying to find a beater, just kind of a beater, something that I can go, and if I need to go deliver calves in, and
Well, but in particular, you wanted a Bulova beater.
I do want a Bulova beater, and to me, if I'm talking about a Bulova beater that's kind of set it, forget it, and wear it in good health, it's got to be quartz. And Luis is like, well, I got this thing, and so
what the hell?
He did me this thing.
It's interesting.
It's
cool,
interesting. It's a Marine Star. It's got the kind of square lollipop, the Seas candy lollipop, seconds hand. It's a fixed bezel, but it's interesting. I got to replace the movement, and I think I can get a whole new movement, do a full movement swap for a whopping $9.
So that much? It should be even less than that, even.
Well, that was my only. I haven't done a deep dive into the specific Miyota movement that is.
Are you getting a brand new movement?
Yeah, because I don't even know what year the watch is. I mean,
I would assume 90s.
A1. It's 2001. This is like a 20-year-old watch, man.
That one's 2001.
It's vintage.
That's a weird design for 2001.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Yeah. But it's cool though. But yeah, go to Esslinger. They got movements for cheap.
Oh, I got all sorts of options. So I will be looking into that.
Now, I'm curious, who's replacing the movement on that? Are you going to attempt to?
I will probably be trying it myself. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Do you have the tools to pull and set the hands?
Do it.
Possibly.
Probably not if he had just recently picked up one of these.
Yeah.
Well, no, because we still got to get into that, because we still have this challenge. We have the build challenge, and I've had that watch for before you went to school, Casey. So
yeah, we talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah, we still got to finish that one up. I think I got everything that I needed to do the swap.
Yeah, but listen, swapping a movement does not constitute a build. Okay.
No, don't. I got to mess around with it. It's going to be built. It's going to be built.
Work.
Okay.
I got a whole
Yeah, all right. Well, hey, I'm all for you trying to do it. And I guess what better watch to try it on?
Right? And then a beer. Because who knows? Who knows? What's the worst that can happen? That my free watch that doesn't run still doesn't run.
And Luis never sends you anything ever again.
Well, it's true. It's true. But we did have a discussion about this. It's like, good luck. So, we'll see.
That'll be easy. Those things are a dime a dozen, those movements. You'll
I'm
find
not
one, no problem.
I'm not really worried about it. I think I can probably get a couple replacements and screw it up a lot. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. So right. What's on the wrist there, Casey?
Today I've got my Seiko Gray Ghost on a like bluish camouflage strap. I freaking love this watch.
Camouflage strap? Navy camouflage, sir?
I technically don't think the Navy used this pattern, so no. It's more of a fashionista thing. But yeah, so that's what's on the wrist. And I've got a random nasty beer. I don't even know. I just got to get through it. So that's how good this beer is.
So nasty, you covered it up.
Yep. I got my pissed off German Shepherd who drinks a beer, and now the happy German Shepherd sticking on there.
And for those of you not watching, Casey opened it. So there you go. There's the noise.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
All right, let me take mine off here real quick. I'll hold it up to the camera. I'm wearing what year is this? 1967 Caravel World Rover. Been a little bit since this one has been pulled out of the box, so wound it up because Joe, you just got yours back. Well, not just, but fairly recently you got yours back.
Recently, yeah.
And as it turns out, really, without any coordination, we kind of have the same strap for it too. So.
Well, you sent me that strap. You sent me that strap for the Electro Time that all of us.
So cute.
So yeah, it's the exact same strap as this, just in black for your Electro Time.
I got the same one that you got because it has that sort of nice orange that really brings out the secondary line on the bezel. So it's a nice.
Oh, you ordered the same brand?
Yeah, same one.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we do have the exact same. Oh, we are cute. Oh, right. What does that make? Number what? 13, 14?
I don't even know. It's a lot, dude.
and 13, 14 watches that we share.
It's a lot.
Between the two of us. Yeah, it's quite a bit. That's true friendship right there.
Winning.
I don't think that's friendship. I think that's a facilitation. It's a little bit of coercion and some other things.
And I'm drinking my signature what do they call this? My cinnamon toast crunch drink. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's milk and Irish cream and Fireball and some cinnamon garnish on top.
Nice.
Got to get you a better eggnog recipe. That's all I got to say. All right.
Well, it is. It's the poor man's eggnog. That's exactly what it is.
That's something. I have got on the Caravel Set-O-Matic on the, who is that? The Strapsco Rubber Rally. It's the pale dial with the lollipop seconds and the Lexan hour markers, and it's funky, funky, funky. And in the cup is vodka and Red Bull because it's that kind of day.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Because Joe still thinks he's in his 20s.
Vodka and Red Bull. Diet Red Bull at that.
You've never had that before, Casey?
I unfortunately have. In the nightclubs in Germany, you could get like a pitcher for €1. And it's disgusting. But hell yeah, I drank the shit out of that in high school. But ew.
Yeah, that was. I've had many of those before. All right, so Joe, what's on tap today? You picked this topic.
I did pick this topic. We are discussing watch flipping, and all of us have a little bit of a different experience with that, and kind of what it means to flip, and all of the things that come through with this flipping ideal. So, to start us off, let's kind of define what we think flipping is. So, Mike, do you got a working definition for a watch flipper?
So, to me, it is somebody who buys a watch and then immediately turns around and sells it for a profit. Case in point, The most recent would be the moon swatches.
Right.
Standing in line, picking them up for $260, and then throwing them up probably as soon as they walk out of the store for what were they going for? $2,000, 2,500 and up.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Yes.
To me, that's what a flipper is.
Okay. KC, you got a different definition?
I don't know. Because in that case, I would almost say it's malicious. It's malicious from this hobby perspective. But in my case, I would consider myself a flipper in the sense that I'm willing to let some of my watches go. I buy them, I enjoy them, and if someone wants to buy them off me or I'm tired of them, I'll move them on.
See, my definition is somewhere kind of in between the two. And I would consider somebody who's a flipper is a person who is paying retail and wanting to sell for over retail, but will not wear the watch. And so, like, almost looking at things not exactly as an investment piece, but as something to make a real quick buck.
Right. So I would say that is malicious.
I don't disagree 100 at all. I don't disagree.
Buying with intent to resell immediately.
Immediately, yeah. And to me that's a part of it, because like what we talked a couple episodes ago about the style of collector that you are, and then there's always the yeah but collector. It's like, okay, I bought it, it doesn't work for me, I'm going to move it on to somebody else that it may work for better. And in that point, like, okay, if you can get what you paid for it, or you can get more, you're in really good shape.
So what do you feel about somebody who buys a watch, okay, XYZ, whatever it is, new or used, it doesn't matter, owns it, and then say 2 years down the line, the prices have increased to the point where you can make a decent profit on it, and you decide to resell it? Is that a flipper, or is that just a lucky sale or good investment, or how do you consider that?
That's a hard question. I mean, KC, you're probably in a better place to answer that than I am.
Well, I would or this is my question for you guys. I think it would help define this. When we say someone's a flipper, do we mean that as a negative thing? Is that title for someone who's up to no good? Because to answer Mike's question, I would say, yeah. I mean, he or she's flipping that watch along. I don't personally think being a flipper is a bad thing. That's why I would say yes. That person who sold it when times were good.
It's in the eyes of the beholder, right? Because some people, if you have the opportunity to buy something and then make a profit, if there's people that are dumb enough out there to spend $1,500 more than what a moon swatch is worth, who's the one to blame in that situation?
Well, but the
seller or the buyer?
It comes down, though, like, we still have this whole issue, and KC, you're our scapegoat for this, because you did the whole Rolex thing recently.
Yeah.
And you bought the Explorer, and there was a wait list, and you had to go schmooze your AD, and you were working a couple of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't because you could not get it. It wasn't available there. And there's a whole aspect of the flipping thing that comes to that, where people's like, okay, I'm going to go in and buy it at retail. I'm going to sell it down the street immediately. And there's even the whole thing that's going on at most ADs, particularly if you look like the big three, where they've got to remove all the stickers in front of you and they keep them and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then you got ADs that are doing that, and they're letting the stickers stay on, so that now you can say, okay, I've got an original with stickers, blah blah blah, which increases the value. And it's like, okay, that now you're not looking at the hobbyist,
right? You're
not looking at the collector. You're looking to try to fleece the collector. And there's enough new money that's come into the watch game where you got people who's like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to pay 150% over retail to get the new hotness, whatever it might be.
So that's those. It's such a weird gray area in who's at fault. Who's the one that's enabling this whole process to happen? Is it the person that's going in and was able to purchase one and is seizing the opportunity to make money? Or is it the person who's actually going and paying the money and enabling this to keep happening over and over and over again? Like, who do you blame in this situation? It's such a weird
it's a weird spot but
that you fall in.
You've got a couple. So we've got this idea of flipping for retail, right? And new pieces, new production. But then if you start to take a look at, if we pick on Rolex again, and we pick on Rolex Daytona in particular, then you watch just the spike that has happened on vintage Daytonas as well. That 10 years ago, not quite a dime a dozen, but significantly cheaper than they are now. And that market has softened, but it's the same thing for like pretty much every vintage watch. I mean, if we can go back to the days of 10 years ago when you're looking at vintage Bulova, for that matter, and the prices that you could have paid then for watches that we would all be really interested to own. You're moving a decimal point into the other space. And so I think that there's a level of the auctions. And when you look at Phillips and Box and Russo and the way that they've been hyping up the auctions, and they hype up the story that's surrounding some of these watches, that the cachet and the desirability and a little bit of the bling that goes with it, for lack of a better term. Like, I want a vintage watch. I want one with Provence. I want all of these extra bits and pieces that go with it. I want the story. I want to be able to tell how I was in the room and I won the bid, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a weird space to be in. It's a weird situation to be in.
So what about me, for an example? Okay. So I'm one to buy a watch in disrepair, restore it, and sell it for what's going to be far more than what I paid for it.
Hopefully.
Am I considered a flipper?
Yeah. Well,
is there flipping on the level in which we are?
Well, that's a big part of the question, because if you start talking restoration, you have added value to something that had significantly less value, right? An unworking watch is not as valuable as a working watch. A watch with cosmetic problems is not as valuable as a watch that has been refinished. But does the refinishing take away? This is...
No, I think you flipped it along. You flipped it on to the next person. I don't think it's that bad. I think you're a flipper. I'm a flipper. Everyone's a flipper.
Wouldn't you like to be a flipper too?
Flippers.
See, I see myself as giving new life to a watch that otherwise wouldn't have had a chance. I don't think I'm a flipper. I do it for profit.
Wait, so your title is I give a watch that had no other life, that never had a chance. That's not smooth. You're a
extraordinaire.
That's a solid title.
Extraordinaire.
Flipper extraordinaire? Hell yeah.
See, I think if you say he was a watch entrepreneur, because that's worth more on Scrabble than Flipper is.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what Scrabble is, so.
It looks really good when you blow it up.
Boring.
Yeah. Just wait till we get to last call, Casey. That's a funny segue into that one.
So the question also comes up, right? Because if you're doing restoration, if you are taking a watch that doesn't work and you're making it work, to me, that's not flipping. That is adding value to something. Like if I buy a watch in pieces and I don't restore it, and then I just move on those pieces, but if I can make more money from that, okay, yeah, then I'm flipping. If I restore the watch and that's not one that I'm going to keep, and I make money off of that, that's not necessarily, I don't think that's flipping, or at least it's not in my mind, because the value of the piece has changed. I've added value to it by putting money into the restoration.
Right. So I think it's important that we say, by you being a flipper, it's a negative thing. So if that's the case, then I would want to, because I don't see myself as doing something negative when I buy a watch and I list it for more than what I paid for it, and I enjoy it until someone
Well, but
but that's where it comes in, where somebody's willing to pay you more money for it. So again, it's where, who's at fault? Are you because you're asking more, or the person who's willing to pay for it?
no, but the other question to that, and talking specifically to Casey's buying and selling philosophy, if so you buy the watch and then you list it immediately for more than you paid for it, and if nobody buys it, what do you do with the watch?
I keep enjoying it.
Right. So you keep enjoying it. So this is not necessarily that you have not bought the watch with the intent to sell.
Right.
You bought the watch with the opportunity to sell. But if nobody takes advantage of that, then it's.
So in that case, would I be a flip? Like, looking at me, would you guys label me a flipper?
No.
All
no.
Right, so
No.
But you're in a different space though, because like we discussed off camera here, you have a revolving collection. So you're purchasing a watch, you're enjoying it. If you list it for sale, and whether it sells immediately or it takes 6 months to do it, that's the length of time that you've allotted yourself to enjoy that piece, and it moves on, and then you go on to the next one.
Right.
So
that's a very different philosophy to collecting.
For me, your goal, Casey, is to find watches that fit into your collection and that are going to meet the criteria that you want to keep as part of your permanent 7 pieces. That's your goal.
Right.
If it doesn't meet all of that, if it doesn't work for you, you move it on, because you don't want to have that in your collection. You don't want to have it taking up space. You don't want to have it taking up essentially investment.
Right.
So to me, that's not flipping. You're trying to find the perfect 7 pieces, and once you hit that you're going to have a point in time where all 7 are going to be stable, and you're like, okay, good, I'm good, until you want to change it with something else. And that, to me, that's not flipping. That's
right.
not. And also, you're not looking specifically as, okay, I'm going to buy this Rolex with the idea that I'm going to make $500 when I move it on. Everything you touch doesn't turn to gold, and that's not the goal, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, if it happens, cool, but if it doesn't, that's not the point. And I think okay,
no, go ahead.
The idea of flipping is this idea of profit, specifically making profit off of everything that you touch. And for some people, the idea of the flipping, it really has to work with volume, because the margins are going to be relatively small. We're looking at, if you're lucky, really, really lucky, it's 10%, but probably not, probably closer to the 5%, 3% margin. And in that situation, it's like, all right, you've got to do volume in order to make a ton of money.
So if you're selling in volume, are you a flipper or are you a dealer?
Well, right.
Because a dealer is an acceptable way of selling.
Oh, well, so I guess, never mind. I was going to say a dealer would, especially for Rolex, you'd have to be authorized. You have to work through Rolex to be a dealer. So then I guess this question of how did you obtain the watch? I don't know.
I'm referring to, like, the guys who are constantly buying on eBay and selling, and dealers like that, like the small time dealer, not like AD dealers.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's also, I don't know if it matters if you've got a storefront or not. I don't think it matters in this day and age, because you got the Instagram sellers that are doing a ton of business. Mm-hmm. And it's all about who and who's in your Rolodex and all that kind of contacts list rather than Rolodex. But I mean, the next part of the question is, does flipping really apply to the lower levels of collecting? And like, Casey, you're in a slightly different space than both Mike and I are, because the watches that are in your collection, not entirely, but by and large, are at a higher dollar amount than what we've got.
Right.
But Mike brings up a really interesting point when he brought up the moon swatch. And I didn't even think about that. And it's an excellent point, because the moon swatch was just like a flipper's paradise.
Oh my God.
You had people that were buying it and walking out of the store and selling it to somebody in line for double what they paid. And then that person went and listed it online and we're selling it for 10 times what they paid.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually how my dad got his moon swatch.
Really?
He was over in Germany, and he figured, screw it, I'm over here. Let me go into these different spots to see if I can get his moon swatch. and he's in line, and some lady ends up like she's just in front of him and gets the last moon swatch. She turns around and says, "Hey, I'm going to be going to a whole bunch of different locations. If you want, give me your contact and maybe I'll sell you it." So he ended up paying over retail. I don't know. It wasn't quite as egregious as others.
Well,
he might
the prices
paid
have
like
come way
$100
down.
over retail, but still.
Well, that's
Yeah.
see, that's part of the issue though for me when it comes to this whole flipping discussion, that it's very bubble. You know, you've got, particularly with the moon swatch, the hype that surrounded the moon swatch, and we've got this delivery, and all of a sudden all of the parameters change. You could get two, now you can only get one. They're going to be selling it online, now they're only selling it in store. The drop is going to happen this day, and it got moved up, and now problem.
Mhm.
So the hype that surrounded that watch, I mean, it was massive. And then 6 months later, it's like, great, I paid $2,500 for a moon swatch Uranus.
That's
And now
that's the thing, is like, this is all going on, and you're like, oh, I got one. I don't care what it costs, and it's in hand now. And now here we are, and you're like, shit.
Right? I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this sucker. I'm stuck with
Because
this.
you will never get out of that.
No.
So like when you start talking about this idea too, like it doesn't really, with the exception of the moon swatch, to me, with the exception of the moon swatch, it really doesn't exist at kind of the lower levels.
I disagree.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I disagree too.
moon
Excellent.
swatch and anything that gets a Ho Dinky collab. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Casio, that crap was like worth 3 times.
Well,
what it is
yeah,
retail,
the
'cause of
John
the-
Mayer Casios, those things were going like crazy too.
Yeah.
And they had, didn't Hodinky have a NASA release of something? A NASA Casio?
They
Yeah.
did, and if you pressed a light, I think the Earth or Moon.
Yeah,
was in
it
the
shined
back.
up through those things went like, and people were flipping those.
Yeah, like Time and Tide teamed up with Doxa, and you wouldn't be able to get a Time and Tide Doxa.
Remember when the Timex Qs came out?
Oh yeah.
That's true.
And then you want to take it a step further, and then the Snoopy Qs came out?
Yeah.
You know,
So
it
maybe
absolutely
I
does
guess
exist.
when you say your space, Joe, maybe in the vintage space, it might not exist because
Well, okay,
It does, but there's so much fluctuation in prices that it's hard to flip vintage watches that Joe and I deal with.
well, okay, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a second, because I've got an example. Mike, do you remember? It was the Caravel Sea Hunter that I got that was a redial.
Yes,
Remember? Like
yes, I remember that. Yep.
The dial,
The numerals were slightly off.
It
Yeah.
was slightly offset, and somebody offered that. They offered to buy it from me, and I got what I paid for it out of it, and moved it on. And I bought a different version of. I bought the Sea Devil with that Lollipop Seconds for $1 less.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't quite come out massively ahead here, but I gotta watch. And so it was a redial. There were some issues with it, and I moved it on. It's like, okay, cool, no harm, no foul. That person then put it up on eBay. Maybe a month later?
Yeah, that's right.
And listed it for well over double of what he paid. And I know this because I know what he paid, and I saw what the listing was, and it was up there for 6 months, maybe more, with no bite, nothing at all. Nobody was going to touch it. It was really, really funny to watch, and then it kept coming back up. It kept relisting, and there was a point. It's like I would send a link to Mike, like, here it is, it's back again. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back. I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know if he sold it or not.
Let's look at it this way. So the Oceanographer G's,
right,
highly desirable 2 years ago. Okay, you could not touch an Ocean for less than $900. I bought mine probably a year ago, give or take. I paid roughly half that price, and now they're trading for $400 or $500.
Right.
So it's hard, and the hope is that I bought it low and the value would rise. So not that I would ever sell it, but you always want to gain value in something. You always want to look at it, even though we're on such a lower price point. You always want to try and have something that's more value added in the long run.
Right. And I mean, I think that like we're all looking at our collection, but we're all looking at our collection.
Well, hold on. Though. My question is though, is buying at a bargain price and hoping it increases in value, not necessarily for resale, but if you had to get out of it, you could get out of it in good shape. Where do you land on that?
Now you're looking at investment. You're looking at watches as an investment. And I don't know that there is anybody that recommends watches as an investment at all, because the market's way too fluid.
Well, except for the YouTube guys who will show you how to, $1,200 is all you need.
So, I was just thinking about this. It's slightly off where we're going, but back on flippers even in vintage watches. Let's say a big name like TGV from the Urban Gentry says, this is a classy piece. This is a great piece. He did it with the Bull of a Space View. And then next thing you know, all of a sudden it gets a little harder to find them on eBay because an influential person has pointed this out.
Right. Oh, no, totally. It's like the Hodinkee Halo. That a watch gets featured there and all of a sudden the prices go way up. And it happens on a pretty regular basis. So,
So if you set out with the purpose of making a profit, and that's the only reason why you bought the watch, you're an a-hole. But if you buy it and enjoy it and you make money on it, you're all right. Case closed, end of the episode.
Pretty much, right? We're done now. It sort of it comes down to that. It comes down to that as part of the questions. Like, what is your intent? Is your intent to make money off of a hype watch, or is your intent to have a collector's piece that you're going to keep? And if it doesn't work for you, you're going to move it on for the intent of another collector. It's motivation matters.
Right.
Motivation matters. Like there's a guy I know through the OC Chrono group, and he buys some watches, and I'm looking at that as like, man, I cannot wait to see that in person. And then 3 weeks later, it's listed. And it's like, what are you doing? Like that's somebody's grail. And he's like, it didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. Let's have a discussion. And he's got this curation that he's going through, and he wants these pieces to exist in a certain space. He's got this idea of where he wants his collection to go, and he's figuring out what he wants his collection to be. And that's kind of it, And so like, things are moving on from him on a pretty regular basis.
No.
So he's kind of similar to KC. Trying to find that perfect collection, which brings me to a question, and I meant to ask this earlier, but your Explorer, Casey, given how much you were looking forward to having that watch and going through the process of being on the waiting list and visiting the ADs and working them over, is that a watch that's part of your open door policy, or is that a permanent fixture in your collection? If somebody came up to you and offered you, X amount of dollars to buy it, would you sell it? Is everything for sale, or is that one that you're not going to let go?
Well, the real question is, how screwed are we in the economy? No, but the Explorer I plan to keep, the Speedmaster Reduced I plan to keep. And my Pelagos, that's permanent. But the Speed Sonic, that one I'm willing to sell. Digital Speedmasters, fluid. So I don't know. It's just pieces, like you said. I put in a lot of work to get that Explorer, and I don't know. I just got a connection with the watch, so it works for me. It works for my collection. I don't see it going anywhere unless I'm about to sell my body on the streets, you know.
So that's the threshold.
Yeah.
So
liquidity matters, right?
yeah, flipping, is it acceptable?
Nah, again, I'm upset if it like impacts the hobby, right? If you're peeing in my pool, I'm a little upset. Okay, that's not cool, man. I want to go be able to walk in. Not really. I mean, I don't really plan on buying a Rolex at new prices ever again. But it would be nice if someone who's got that kind of money and wants to just waltz into the Rolex and buy them regularly, for them to do that. But that's been destroyed by people who just went out with the express intent to make money.
But nobody forced the buyer to pay them.
But I'm with KC on this. I'm with KC on this. That is like if your desire to make a profit has affected my ability to get the watch because you want to buy the watch with the express intent of making profit, it's like, come on, man, go buy some stock. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly a ding dong if you pay over retail for a Rolex. Like, I'm sorry, they're just not that great of a watch.
Yeah, but if buyers protested flippers, do you think that would stop the flipping industry, or at least put a huge dent in it to the point where you probably could walk into an AD and buy one off the shelf?
Probably, but how are you going to get the herd to do that? People are dumb.
So that's what I'm saying. Is I guess I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit and saying that a lot of the fault falls on the shoulders of the buyer too, because they're enabling this to happen.
True.
You know, you don't want to have to pay
percentage of fault to either one side.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I'm saying.
Idiot if you paid over retail, and I think you're a douchebag if you went out to buy it but sold to sell it. There you go. Everyone's an asshole.
Everybody's at fault. You're at fault, and you're at fault, and you're at fault. Everybody's at fault.
Maybe. I don't know that there's a good answer to that. I don't think we're going to be solving this problem today. That's all. You know, it really comes down to kind of that.
Look, if there's anyone I'm going to burn at the stake, probably going to be the one that went in there just to sell it for profit. If you're the ding dong who went and bought over retail, well, I can't help you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty shady practice. I will say that. But I will say, if you're dumb enough to pay the guy for it, that one falls on you.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of have the same attitude as you, Joe, when someone does pay the almost often ridiculous prices I list these watches for. You know, I'm like, well, if you really want to pay me for that, sure. I hope you can flip it for that.
So when somebody pays you your often ridiculous prices, do you feel a little dirty in the end?
For like 3.5 seconds, and then I'm like,
until it shows you deposit rendered, right?
Until he hits buy it now on the next watch.
Exactly, yeah. I feel dirty until the next one, like UPS drops off my new watch, and I'm like, cool.
Well, I think we have covered our ground here today, gentlemen. So I'm gonna throw out last call here.
Last call. That's an early last call. Okay. Who's going first?
Well, so I've got a question, and it came up in a discussion that we had recently with some of the Bulova people, and it has to do with Caravel and where Caravel may or may not be going, because currently Caravel is sort of a fashion line, but originally Caravel was not. So where do people think that's going to be headed? Where do we think that it's going to be a thing? Do we think it's going to be a thing?
Well, where do we think, or where do we want it to go? Where would we like to see it go?
That's a whole question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I see it dying. Like if we're talking about where I think it'll go, I don't see how it can survive unless, you know, Citizen Group owns them. Unless they decide, hey, we're going to build a story, a heritage behind this. Where I want it to go, of course, I want it to survive. I mean, look at my freaking clock.
Vested interest.
But I just don't see it, you know, unless they really decide to invest in it.
How do you feel about Caravel doing more retro designs? Should they do so to survive? Does Caravel need to look backwards to move forwards, or do they need to move forward with more innovative designs?
That's actually kind of cool. That would be cool if Caravel was their kind of vintage reissue line, because Bulova puts out some of these very modern design watches often.
They do. And so like you got the Caravel was always known for some of the funky stuff. I mean, look at the watch I'm wearing, for crying out loud.
That's true.
Right. It's not something that you would have seen necessarily Bulova doing, even though it has some design cues from the G, from some of the other parts of the line.
I feel like that one is Caravel's answer to the Oceanographer G.
It could be, but it also could be Caravel's answer to the 666 chronograph, because there was no chronograph involved in that watch. And there's similar design cues that are going all through that line. And Caravel could do something with the funk. I mean, honestly, they could bring some really funky pieces. They could do some really interesting designs. They could do some really odd colors. There's an option there that they could do, but they've got to be able to bring it in at a price point. And so it's a question, is it going to be like a Chinese mechanical? Is it going to be quartz? Is it going to be Miyota? What's it going to be? And that's kind of the question. So maybe that should be a poll that we bring up, or questions that we ask our audience, all 12 of you. We'll decide the fate of Caravel as a collective,
as a dozen.
As a dozen. That's my last call.
It's an interesting conversation. That's for sure. I think they can. I think there's definitely potential. There's definitely room. I think they need to look backwards to move forwards. I mean, look at the conversation we had with JP last week. It's kind of like we all agreed that one Caravel retro line watch, that kind of faux diver watch, was really the favorite of all of us. So I think that might be their answer. I don't know.
Question mark, ...
And they need to start doing a little more advertising. Caravel really they're not on in the advertising game right now.
They're not visible hardly at all.
Yeah, get off your butt.
So, KC, what do you got?
I really don't have one.
No? Okay. So, on Instagram, I came across an Instagram reel of a dad who was asking his 14-year-old son. He said, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I just want you to answer them as honestly as you can. And he's asking questions like, what is a fax machine? What is a Rolodex? What is a burnt CD? What is AOL? And the kid was legitimately struggling trying to figure out what some of these things were. So I'm like, ha, 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 that's funny. Until I asked my kid the same question. Oh my gosh. If you ever want to feel old, just start asking your kids some of these things, like, what dial-up is.
Okay.
What kid knows what dial-up is?
True story. I work at a high school, and for the longest time we had rotary phones as our office phones. So that was the way that you contacted other teachers, way that you contacted other classrooms, or contact the front office. And so funnest thing that I could possibly do would be to tell a kid, hey, I need you to go into my office and call so-and-so's classroom. This is the number. And then I'd give them like 3-4 minutes, and then I'd just go and peek in the door, and they're sitting there staring at this rotary phone. I don't know how it works. I don't know what to do. Oh, it made my whole day, man. Absolutely made my day.
My wife told me that her kids, she teaches first grade now, they didn't know what a DVD was.
Oh, no clue.
I was like, damn.
Yeah.
No clue. So the thing that I also find really funny, if you start talking to kids now, because right, for us, like, okay, call me, right? This is the gesture. Call me. Kids today, call me. Because that's what the phone looks like. Totally different.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. But So, but the funny part is like we were talking, we were, a burnt CD. She's like, "What's a burnt CD?" We had to explain to her. Well, you can make your own mixtapes on CD, and you would put them on your computer, and then you'd put a CD in there, and it would laser etch it. And she's like, "I want to burn a CD."
It's a permanent playlist.
But the funny thing is we have literally no way to play a CD nowadays.
None.
You know, it'd be great if your daughter would
cars
come
don't
back
come with
with
CD
a CD
players
and a lighter. That would be awesome.
But cars don't have CD players. The computers don't have CD drives anymore.
You know what my CD player does in my car? It holds my little hands-free thingy.
It holds, yeah.
My first car actually had a cassette player in it.
Well, yeah, but wasn't it like a 1987 Pinto?
Not a Pinto, a Camaro.
Still got the 87 part right.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was 86. So. Yeah, but
funny enough, my first car was a Camaro as well.
Oh, really? What year?
Mine was a 75 Camaro Berlinetta.
Ooh.
It was made to look like a 74 Z28.
Did it have T-tops?
No.
Berlinettas
don't have T-tops.
See?
Say what?
I said the Berlinettas didn't have a T. The Berlinettas were like the base model. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, I like the Berlinetta is cool just because of all the different tryout technology they crammed in those. But other weird thing that kids definitely aren't going to know now is video games in cartridge form.
Oh yeah,
the blow on it. Yeah. You shove it in the yeah.
Which I heard is not good for them.
Oh no.
Like you're actually blowing spit and crap into your cartridge.
But it worked.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe it's a placebo.
The spit was just a bridge to make the electrical connection. That's why it works.
It's like adding flux, but not really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you want to make yourself feel old? Ask your kids some questions.
Oh man, is that how I fixed my vintage digitals? I just spit all over them.
There you go.
That could be Oliver's whole thing when it comes to the Electro Times. It might be just that.
I think that's what it is. Dang. He licks it.
Could be.
Licks it and puts it back in the case.
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
And see, Timex was onto something.
Wrong brand. Wrong brand.
Yeah.
Well, on that weird note, how can people find us?
So this evening, Casey, Joe, and myself, we make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us the springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
I am Watch Taylor Youth, all one word. Casey.
We've done this 23 times so far. You figured you'd have this down.
We have.
Casey, what about you?
So I am time.hack1636, still begging for subscribes and likes and follows.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. Casey.
Also, you can hashtag us at the Spring Bar Podcast. We'd love to see your watch shots. We'd love to see your apparently we asked for dog shots and got a couple of those, which none of us recalled.
We asked for puppy pictures. We got a puppy picture. So let's ask for something weird this week.
Ooh. All right.
Socks.
Okay.
Socks
funky socks.
How do you match your watch to your socks?
There it is. Matching watches to socks.
There you go.
Hashtag the Spring Bar Podcast. And we would love to see all of that.
All right. Well, we should do that every week. Come up with something funky to tag your pictures. That's what we're going to start doing.
We're grasping for straws, gentlemen. We really are.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, until next time, we ask you to tag us something funky.
Funky socks. We'll
Cheers.
see.
But please wash them.
Yeah. Clean socks only.
Exactly. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
All right.